Home Affairs has granted relief to long-term visa applicants. It's extended the blanket concession to the 31st of December. It means those waiting for applications can legally stay in the country till the end of the year. The department has done this due to staff shortages leading to undue delays. Let's get more now on this with Immigration Services DDG Yusuf Simons. Mr. Simons, good morning and thank you very much for your time. So you've granted the relief for applicants of visas. Can you just take us through the criteria? Who exactly qualifies?
Good morning, Mfundo, and thank you for having us on the program. The concession it's not a new concession. Let me start off by saying it's a concession that we started in 2020 due to COVID-19. In 2021, in 2022, we've also issued these concessions. Concessions are for long-term mainstream applicants awaiting the outcome of the visa applications. So the department has, as you probably know, a backlog in these visa applications. So as a relief to these applicants, because we had a number of requests of applicants waiting for the outcome of the visas, indicating they need to travel for emergency purposes. So this concession actually protects them and also allows them to travel on the receipt and proof of application. But I must also say, Mfundo, and because I've had inquiries about this, that the concession is not for ZDP holders, Zimbabwe exemption permit holders.
Yes.
Because we must know that Zimbabwean ZDP holders currently have valid visas, which is up to the end of June 2023. So this concession is for those who are part of the backlog, and ZDP holders are not part of the backlog. They're currently on their own concession. But further, just need to emphasize, Mfundo, that the concession is not for short-term travelers, visitors to the country, who are just coming here for 30 days, because they will leave after those 30 days. And if they do apply for extension, the maximum period is for 90 days. So this concession of 9 months up to the end of December this year is for those long-term applicants who are waiting the outcome of their applications.
I'm glad that you actually touched on the ZDP because we had also heard a number of people that were a bit confused about it. But that remains a special dispensation, but now has come to an end. Come the end of June, most of them would be returning home, correct?
Yes, as you know, Mfundo, as well, that this is sub judice at the moment. It's in front of our courts. So currently we have made statements as a department on the ZDP holders. But this concession is clearly not for ZDP holders. It's particularly aimed at those who applied for mainstream visa applications.
Then to the backlog itself that you spoke of. We understand that it goes all the way back to 2016. That's around 7 years. It's honestly concerning. What changes have you made to ensure that you address the slower pace of processing applications?
Mfundo, we have two backlogs. The one that you are referring to is related to permanent residency. Those are persons who are already on temporary residence visas, who have then applied to become permanent residents of South Africa. The other backlog that we have is in temporary residence, and that dates back to 2021, a small number amount in 2021. The biggest backlog for temporary residence visas, and which this concession is about, are applicants from 2022 that we are dealing with. But just on the backlog, Mfundo, and this is an important matter that I need to address here, is the backlog, particularly in temporary residence, was really escalated during the COVID-19 period. And it's not South Africa was not unique in experiencing that backlog. We had discussions with the UK, the US, developed countries, and they all tell us that they have backlogs. For example, our backlog, as I indicated, with temporary residents is at 55,000. The US backlog is sitting at 420,000. They currently take 400 days to finalize a visitor's visa. We still take less than 8 weeks to finalize a visitor's visa. Interesting also is that Canada is sitting with a backlog of 2.1 million. That's the backlog that Canada is sitting, and all resulting from COVID-19. So we are not unique in having a backlog. But let me tell you what we are doing about this particular backlog. Let me go to the temporary residence backlog first. So that is mostly applications from 2022. So we have brought on board 80 new adjudicators. We just appointed them. They are in training. From 1 April, they will be released into operating, and they are all legally qualified adjudicators. Then we also have 62 officials that we have trained for 2 months that's earmarked to go for foreign mission deployment. They will now be deployed to help us with the backlog as well. So we're increasing our capacity from, currently we have 39 adjudicators. We're increasing that by 80. So we have more than 100. And I can say, for example, countries like the UK, they have more than 500 adjudicators dealing with their visa applications. We are sitting with 39. So that's part of the problem that we have in dealing with this. But we have increased capacity. We're also looking at or have reviewed our process, because that's important. You can bring in capacity, but if you are still constrained by long processes, you need to, alternatively also, you need to look at that. So we have reviewed our processes to make it quicker to adjudicate and finalize these applications. So these measures are important for us to address the backlog. I was in portfolio committee with the minister and the DG a month ago or 2 weeks ago. And we made it clear to the portfolio committee that by June next year, we would have dealt with this backlog because of the processes and additional capacity that we have now brought on board. We will also extend our hours to work overtime, because for us, this backlog is very important. We don't want to burden those who want to stay in South Africa, who applied to work here, to have business here, to want to retire, etc. So we really need to up our game to deal with this backlog.
All right. I'm sure they're quite comforted just hearing those statements that you do intend to deal with that backlog. Mr. Simons, thank you very much for your time this morning. That was Home Affairs Immigration Services Deputy Director General Yusuf Simons.